So you want to have a VBAC? Thanks for coming back to my channel to continue this series. Today we're talking about advocacy and how to advocate for your VBAC. Hi everyone, my name is Leslie. I'm a disciple, wife, mom, and childbirth doula, and this is where I share about all things birth, faith, and family. I'm continuing this series on how to prep for VBAC with my steps for birth prep. We are following the health acronym, so we've done H for healing, we've done E for education, and now we are on to A for advocacy. And so you can see the full advocacy video here. I will link it for you. But that aside, you can also, in this video, I'm going to share with you some top tips about how to specifically apply this for VBACs. Now, a little bit more, you do have to advocate for yourself more when you are desiring a VBAC. And so my recommendation is that you start having conversations earlier with your provider. That you truly ask your provider, like, okay, you say you're VBAC supportive, like up to what point? At what point are you going to tell me that you think we should induce? What would induction even look like with you? What kind of process would that be? How many of your clients end up having a successful VBAC? Do you know, like what percentage of, how many VBACs do you do? How many repeat C-sections do you do? All of that stuff. You can ask them that information to give yourself a sense of who it is that you're working with, right? And you can also look up the statistics for the hospital where you're going to give birth in terms of that as well. But I highly recommend practicing advocating for what you want during pregnancy. I cannot recommend that enough for VBAC clients. I recommend that for everybody, but especially if you've had a VBAC. Making sure you've talked through with your provider what their support looks like during your birth is very important to do during pregnancy, okay? How are they thinking that your birth is going to be managed? At what point are they thinking that they need you to come in? Like, what kind of, you can get a sense of this, and it may not just be your one provider. It may be the other providers in the practice for you to ask as well, because you have your provider, and let's say your provider is super supportive, and you're like, yes, I'm so excited. But what if that provider is not the one who is on call when you go into labor? For that reason, I highly recommend going ahead and having these conversations in advance. I cannot say it enough. Now, I know I've shared these advocacy resources elsewhere, but I think that, oh, no, I actually haven't. My advocacy resources do tie to education. So in my last video, I focused a lot on education for VBAC as it pertains to understanding why you had the C-section in the first place. But I want to also say, this ties with education and advocacy, is that I'm going to share with you these resources that I think will be helpful in not only helping you understand what your likelihood is of having a VBAC. Hint, hint, it's quite high. Actually, it's your attempt at a VBAC can be very successful. And so I highly recommend checking out the VBAC link. They have a great supportive group on Facebook. They also have, I think they have a parents course online as well. They also help doulas get additional training in terms of VBAC. So you can take a look at their VBAC certified doulas as well. And then I also recommend VBAC Facts. What I love about VBAC Facts is that they really do a great job of analyzing the studies that exist around VBACs so that you can have an actual accurate picture. Because it's not enough to say, well, the studies show that, VBACs are actually not that successful. Well, who did you poll? How many people did you actually poll? I recommend checking out VBAC Facts to help give you a little bit more education that will help you in the advocacy piece. Okay, that guy just cut me off. And so I highly recommend checking out VBAC Facts, the VBAC link. Those are my top resources for helping you get the education that can help you advocate for yourself. And then, on top of all of the advocacy recommendations that I have in the video link down below. Okay. So that's really all I've got for you in terms of that. Honestly, with advocacy, it's really practice makes perfect. Like, you just have to practice and you get better at it. The more comfortable you get speaking about the things that you desire, talking through what the benefits, the risks, the alternatives are to whatever it is that you're offered, and feeling more comfortable having those conversations with your provider, understanding that they are not the expert in your birth. They may know a lot about birth, and OBs are actually experts in surgery. They do know a lot. They know a lot about medicalized birth. Midwives are more trained in physiological birth. But all of that to say is that don't feel like you can't come to the table. Like, you also have, like, you're an expert in your birth, because guess what? You are the only one carrying your baby. And so I say that to give you some confidence when you come to the table to advocate for yourself. That you are the one who's experiencing this pregnancy, and you are the one that is going to be raising this baby and has to live with the consequences, the repercussions of anything afterwards. If you elect to have another C-section, you are the only one that has to live with the recovery of another C-section. So that's why you are the best equipped to make that decision, with the information, you should have all the information to be able to make that decision for yourself, okay? And feel confident doing it. Feel like you're not doing it under coercion, under fear, under any of that. Those are big red flags if you are being coerced or manipulated into doing things the way somebody else wants you to do it, okay? So with that, I want to leave you guys and let you know, like, check down the resources below. Start practicing advocating around what you want with your provider. Just ask one question at every visit. It'll help make you more comfortable with doing it. They have a great email system where, honestly, you could send, most medical providers now, you can email them and then they'll get back to you when they can. And I have found this worked really great with my last pregnancy, was that I would just email my questions and then get written responses back, and that was a lot easier for me to go back and review with my husband, because everything was written and it wasn't like based off of my memory. Oh, I remember she said XYZ. It was all in writing. And so that might be a way that you could maybe practice advocacy. If you're maybe not so comfortable, you can try emailing first until you get maybe like a little bit more courage about asking questions in front of your provider. I hope none of you feel frightened to ask questions to your provider, but I know sometimes you can feel rushed, like you really don't have that much time. And so emailing your questions and being able to get your thorough responses back can really help. So those are my top tips for how to advocate for the VBAC that you want. I hope I see you in the next video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to help out in this area in whichever way I can. VBACs are near and dear to my heart, and so let me know if I can be praying for yours. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.